guitarist made you want to pick up the guitar, and then what guitarist made you realize I can do this?
Oh, so I was into metal. So instead of guitar, I first I saw Motley Crue's Looks That Kill, wanted to play drums. But living in Japan, drums were kind of, hard. There was no garage, so you got to go to a studio, or my school had a drum, music class with a drum set, and I tried it, and I was like, this ain't it. So then I was like, all right, I'm going to play bass, Nicky Six. So then my uncle had a bass. So I tried to play the bass, but it's hard to figure out basses and a riff, for heavy metal especially. So you can't really hear the bass that good, well, when you're not, that musically inclined. So then, and that was that. And then I got into Japanese heavy metal. And, and
loudness.
Loudness and all the LA hair metal, Rat and all that, Jakey Lee, and they were all like, it was the Shredder, Age of Shredder. So I was like, all right, I'm gonna play guitar because all my friends had played guitar. So I got this cheap ass guitar that I couldn't play. Then I saved up my money and I bought a Strat, a legit Strat, and I was playing like Dokken and Rat, but heavy metal stuff you had to play note for note. Like you had to get it perfect. So I was like, I can't do that. So then I turned to my punk bands, and I really was into Hanoi Rocks. And Hanoi Rocks were kind of loose, and they had, their live recordings were kind of different from their studio recordings, where it wasn't the same guitar solo. It was like kind of, it was kind of the same, but I was like, oh, you could just kind of change it around. You could just do your own thing. So Andy McCoy was my guy that I said, oh, I could kind of do this maybe.
Yeah. So I find it very interesting. You were self-taught on guitar.
Never. Well, I signed up for a guitar lesson and I went, and it was like I was already in a band, but in M80 with Mario. But I couldn't. I was just so busy. I was going to school. I was working. I had a job. You have a girlfriend, and you have to go. It's like once a week, and you have to, he'd give you something to study the whole week. And I was like, like studying was in my guitar plans, So I went the first time. I was like, I just can't do it because it was like $40 for half an hour, or maybe an hour. And I was like, that's a lot of money, and I just didn't have the time at the point,
So you did have a couple lessons?
No, I didn't. I just went to that one, and he just kind of told me what was going to happen.
And what did he tell you was going to happen?
No, he was like, what do you want to learn?
Okay.
What do you want to learn?
Yeah. I thought you meant he was like telling you the future. Like, well, if you don't take lessons from me, you're going to suck.
He was like, and then I brought a tape of our M80, and he was already like, oh, you do this, but you just don't know what you're doing. Oh. And I was like, oh yeah. And then he was like, these are the notes, and I was like, oh. And he was kind of like, learn that. Like learn what the guitar fretboard is, and I just knew it in my head, but I just didn't know, when someone said play this, and I was like, I don't know.
So you basically learned from playing other people's
from
music.
there I just kind of, I just listened to records, CDs, tapes, whatever. But there's this thing called tablature. It's like musical notes, but it's in numbers where you put your fingers. That's what I learned from. That's how I kind of started. So I did kind of mess up where I didn't have my basics, but I just kind of skipped over the basics, learning the tablature. So I knew it, but I didn't know what it was.
So you're the only person in the Bronx that doesn't have this professional knowledge, right?
Yeah. Our singer doesn't. But he
doesn't play guitar, does he? Or he does?
He doesn't.
Okay.
I mean, he knows, a couple chords here and there. Yeah. But yeah, everyone, like our other guitar player had piano. Our other, the bass player, he plays trumpet, so he took lessons, So yeah.
Do they look at you differently because you're uneducated, quote unquote, when it comes to guitar, or?
I just pretend like I know what they're talking about.
But you know what the keys are.
Yeah,
You know the keys.
well, at this point, I think at this point, I kind of knew what to do.
Okay.
You know? And I knew the lingo and
Okay.
you know, yeah. But you know, Vince, who plays bass in Mariachi Bronx, he plays guitar, drums, bass better than anyone else. And he's never had lessons, but his dad is Dave Hidalgo from the Los Lobos, so it's in his blood.
Okay. So going back to the beginning, you were born in Yokohama, Japan.
Yep, Japan.
And how did so your parents moved you over here?
Yeah.
And just down the street, I guess.
Yeah. So yeah.
And how old were you?
87, 88. So I was like 17.
Okay.
So when the metal explosion was happening, my dad was going to retire, so we moved over here and, you know, switched the life up.
Was that a big culture shock?
Not a culture shock, because I went to an international school, American school over there, so it was like, you know, I was like, dude, I knew how to speak English. And, you know, a lot of kids from the States were coming, so all the American culture I knew. You know, American movies, American shows, and, you know, in Japan you could get anything, so, you know. But the thing was, I was really, in Japan there's no age limit to go to clubs.
Oh.
So I was, you know, at that age you're starting to get into like local bands, like independent bands, you know. So I left right as I was starting to go to clubs, and, you know.
See any noteworthy bands back then?
What did I did, but nothing. Well, there's this band called Saber Tiger, and the guitarist went on to be huge in this band called X Japan. He was like Japan's Kurt Cobain type thing, you know. But yeah, I went to a lot of shows, but they didn't, you know. I don't think people know them over here that well. I mean, some people like Laughing Nose and punk bands like that, bunch of metal bands. But yeah, so I moved over here. And then my first two friends were Mike Trufa and Lance Martineau, who played in Tune.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we went to Grossmont High School together, same grade.
Wow, yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, they were on Cargo.
Okay.
No, what was the other label on Cargo? Maybe it was just straight up
Headhunter?
Headhunter. Maybe Headhunter. One of those labels. But yeah, we were like totally into metal. They were into Iron Maiden. But I was like, oh yeah, so what do you do to, you know, go see bands? And you're like, you got to be 21, so you got to go to the sports arena, or you got to go to like a party, you know, like someone's parents are gone and they throw a party and your friend's band play, you know. So that's what I did. That I think my first concert here was, I think, Motley Crue, Girls, 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 or Aerosmith, Permanent Vacation.
Oh wow.
Doc and opening up. So yeah, I went to a lot of sports arena shows. I saw Guns N' Roses before they broke at San Diego State. At
Montezuma Hall? I was there.
Yeah.
I snuck into that show.
Wow. It was packed. TSL opening up.
Yep.
You know, I love Izzy, so I was on Izzy's side, but it was so packed and so, you know, even before the show started, I was like, when I like realized I was on Slash's side, you know.
Yeah, I was on Slash. You were probably blocking my view.
Yeah. It was pretty cool though. You know, that was like one of the first, just being at a show that was like super packed, you know. Yeah,
I was supposed to interview Guns N' Roses for that show, and I wasn't the biggest fan, and these other two girls at the radio station were. So they're like going, oh, can you get us on the list? I said, well, why don't you interview them and ask for them to put you on the list, because your girls will put you on the list, because I'm already on the list.
Yeah.
Well, they did the interview and asked the questions I wanted to ask, and got IDs for me and stuff like that. And yeah, they got on the list. Only they took my name off the list, so I had to. So me and my friend, we snuck up from the bowling alley down upstairs. We were in the backstage area, and the security stopped us, and I'm like going. He's like, what are you guys doing? And immediately, me and my roommate, we pretended to be drunker than we were. So, oh man, where's the bathroom? We just walked out of this door and we can't find it. He goes, here, just go in and don't tell anyone I told you. So we got in. It was a great show.
That was a great show.
There's a recording of it too.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of like reviews and stuff of it, because, you know, they were like canceling, and, you know, Axl was already starting to come in late, because he was kind of late to that show, I remember.
I don't.
Yeah, it was a
remember.
long wait from TSO. It got me from Izzy to Slash's side.
Wow.
That's how long of a wait it was. But that was kind of a they play shows that was kind of half-assed where they played like 45 minutes. But that one was a full-on.
That was a full-on, and
Yeah.
and Axel had the oxygen
Oh yeah,
thing going on.
Remember the Ritz that was on MTV?
Yes, and it was the same show. It was right around that time.
It was pretty much that. Yeah, so that was cool. So yeah, that was what, 88, right before.
That was
Sweet
88.
Charlemagne?
I think February 8th.
Yeah,
88.
February, March. But yeah, so yeah. And yeah.
Did you ever see Jane's Addiction at the back door?
No. There was a show that I was wanting to go to of them, but I ended up not going. There was a couple of shows there was a lot of stuff I couldn't go to because I didn't have the money, Like, it was cheap, but I didn't have $20 to go.
So were the M80s your first real band you were in?
Yep. I couldn't even hold chords that well. Mario was like, "This is how you hold
Oh, really?
D." But it's so funny because there was some stuff that I could do really well, and Mario would be like, "Oh, that's super cool. How do you do that?" But then there was the basic stuff, like I said, I skipped over the basic stuff, so I didn't know a lot of the basic stuff,
So how'd you hook up with Mario and Zalo?
So
I mean, you reader or something?
no, so yeah. So and this was like I was still in high school. It was like January of '89. I had my best friend. He was the same heavy metal guy. Moved here from Japan, Japanese like me. And then I was like really into Hanoi Rocks, Johnny Thunders at that point. And then I was like, oh man, there's no one in my age group that really liked that stuff. So I was like, oh, I should, look in the reader and see if anything, is in there that I could, because there's the wanted ads in there back then. So then my friend had an old reader. It wasn't the current one. It was like 2 or 3 weeks old. And I looked in there and it said, lead guitarist wanted, into Andy McCoy, Thunders, and Dolls, whatever. So I was like, I'm going to call this guy. And I don't even know where I had that courage, It's like I don't even really know how to play. I just been here for like a year. I was like, I just turned 18, senior in high school. So I called this guy, and it was Mario. And he was super cool, And he was like, yeah, let's get together. And I was like, oh, I'm 18. He's like, so
and he was what? He was like 22
he was 20,
maybe?
No, he was like 25 or 6.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, even that, when I was 25, I didn't want to hang out with any 18-year-olds. But Mario was cool in that.
Oh, you got lucky.
Because there was already Mario, Gonzalo, and a drummer named Mark. But they had never really been in bands before. It was Mario's first band. It was Mark's first real band. So I show up with my little amp and my fucked up Strat, and the first song we did, I think we did like Pipeline and Born Loose.
Oh.
And I couldn't even really play that well. But so then Mario liked me, and then he was like, oh, let's get together again, and then we just started happening. And then we played our first show like the next month or so, February, March of '89, playing with a
Gun Club and
no, that was like a year later. What was Pete Reichardt's band? 9,000 Pounds or 10,000 Pounds?
Oh,
I think it was
a Sub Society.
No, I think it was 10,000 pounds, 9,000 pounds, but it was something pounds. But so yeah, we played with them, and then our second show, Texas Tea House in OV, and our second show was Texas Tea House with Holy Love Snakes.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Because Gonzalo was really good friends with
Devin.
Devin.
Yeah.
And I thought they were fucking, because Devin's only like a year older than me, and he was a shredder.
Oh, jeez, he's amazing.
Yeah, and then I thought Dan was the coolest guy.
Dan was pretty cool.
He had his like, kind of like the twisted hair, the braided hair and leather jacket, black hair, and he's just still didn't talk back then either.
I ran into him at like 10 years ago at Ogie's in Mission Valley. I just hang out around there.
I just saw him at one of the chili cook-offs like a year or two ago. Yeah, but yeah, he's the same.
Yeah,
that was cool. So we played Texas Tea House. We did the Rios. Spirit.
And so you played with the Goo Goo Dolls, and
So,
I was at that show. I don't remember.
So then it went from there, and that was like end of '89. It was December or something of '89. It was us, Worm Drive, and Goo Goo Dolls. And
Gun Club. I mean, Goo Goo Dolls.
Gun Club was a different night. Gun Club was earlier. Gun Club was like summer of '89.
Okay.
And you know what's crazy about Gun Club is the bass player was a Japanese girl, and I'm still friends with her. We like re-hooked up, re-met the like 5 years ago, somewhere around there. And I hang out with her in Japan. She lives in London still, so when we go to London, she comes to our shows.
Oh wow.
But so we played all that Spirit, Rio's, Texas Tea House, and then we did Spirit with Gun Club, and then that fall we opened up for Johnny Thunders already.
Oh yeah, that's right.
So that was January of '89. I go jam with Mario, play Pipeline and Born to Lose. Then 9 months later, we're opening up for Johnny Thunders. You know.
And what was that like?
It was cool. You know, I think Mario sent a dozen roses to the girl that was booking Bacchanal, and he's like, "Hey, can we open up for Johnny Thunders?" And she gave it to us. Wow. It's crazy because we were only a band for 8 months or so. So then we open up, but they're like, they have to use your equipment except Johnny Thunders. So we're like, cool, that's fine. And our drummer had this little kit, and our bass player had this little kit, and Mario had he had a nice amp, and I had like a cheap amp that I bought off of Mario. They didn't even use that. Johnny Thunders had his own stuff. But so we get there. I wrote this in a Japanese fanzine lately. I just it was like a story I wrote about the whole experience. But we got there early because they needed our shit, so we set it up. And then I was at the bar, and I was just standing there, and I look over, and there's this short guy standing there. He had I swear he had sweats on, but maybe it was black pants. He had a leather jacket on. He had a guitar case, and he was swinging his guitar case around kind of like this. And I was like, "Fuck, that's Johnny Thunders." And then when we
so did you actually talk to him, or?
Well, so they did the sound check, and I was just farting around. You know, I'm only 18 years old, running around.
Not even supposed to be
not even supposed to be there. You know, so I was like, the Bacchanal had a stage, and right behind the stage was 2 doors of backstage, and I was standing right by the door, and Johnny Thunders was like, "Hey, thank you," and I was like, "What's he saying thank you to?" And then I shook his hand. Oh, well. But I think he was saying thank you that we let him use their shit, but. I figured Johnny Thunders isn't the guy to even know what gear he's using. Yeah. So I don't know. So then he was out back smoking weed. And what was that band, the Lonely Hearts? That was from El Cajon? Lonely Boys? Maybe it was not Lonely Boys. Lonely Hearts? The guitar player played with Christina from Chabalaba, sometimes Charo Trick.
Oh.
But yeah, it was.
I got pictures of them.
Yeah, it was 3 guys that really liked Johnny Thunders. They had a band. I think it was Lonely Hearts, something like that. But then they went to the back and got a picture with him. And then Johnny went to the front, and they ran to the front, and they asked for an autograph. And Johnny was like, "I already took a picture with you." And I was kind of cracking up, But, I didn't know he was going to die a few years later, so I was just it was just like a regular show, Yeah. So then we play the show, and then Mario was like, "Hey, go find a spot that they're not going to find you." Because I was 18. They didn't check my ID because I was, running around. So I went to the bar. I just sat in the corner and just watched the whole thing. Because it was probably 80 to 100 people. Because it was tables. It wasn't a crowd smashed the stage.
Bacchanal, right?
It was Bacchanal, and it was just tables. And then it was cool. It was the late, the whole saxophone and backup singer. But they were all cool. And then
so you saw them play
I saw him play. Shook his hand, and then at the end of the set, he took off his guitar and just kind of threw it on the ground. And then when everyone left, I went up on the stage and I touched his guitar.
Wow, nice. Wow.
But then he just left straight. Some limo came and he got in the limo, and I guess it was some chick, and took him down to TJ.
Wow.
And me, Mario, and Gonzalo went to the band's hotel room, and we just kind of hung out there. They're like smoking weed and shit, you know.
So did you talk to Johnny there? Or
no, Johnny wasn't there. He
just
left the TJ.
And he wasn't there a story you were telling me about, something about Johnny Thunders was supposed to show up somewhere for a meet and greet, and he was a no-show, but they brought his guitar.
No, that wasn't me. That wasn't me, but that's pretty funny. But yeah, it was, you know, he.
That was Hector telling me that.
Oh, that was probably Hector. Yeah, that was a pretty cool night. It was 89. It was they had a big earthquake in San Francisco. Because I remember when we got them sound checking and they were starting to set up or sound check, the guy announced it. He was like, there was just a big earthquake in San Francisco.
Wow.
But I didn't know what the fuck. You know, I was. You know, this is like at this point I probably played 10 shows in my life. You know.
Wow. And you're opening up for Johnny Thunders.
Wow. Probably not even 10 shows. This is probably like my 8th show or something. You know. But it was fun. You know, and then we went to the hotel, hung out with them. I didn't even talk. I didn't have anything to say. You know. And then went back to Mario's house and spent the night. And that was that.
Was Mario in awe too, or
no? We were all kind of cool, you know.
Cool with it.
Just a couple beers, probably drunk, but you know, because all the guys were mellow. They were all nice and smoking cigarettes. Some of them smoking weed, drinking beers. You know, it wasn't like throwing TVs out the window. You know. But I remember it being a super foggy night, and I drove the van. You know, I couldn't. It was like so crazy thick fog. I couldn't even see in front of me. You know?
Oh wow! Yeah, I hate that.
Yeah, but it was in Claremont. So made it all the way back to Chula Vista. But yeah, so yeah, that was what 89, and then that December, we opened up for Michael Monroe.
Oh.
Yeah, so that's when I met Sammy Yaffa for the first time.
Oh wow.
Nasty Suicide was there. And
wow.
And so it was M80, and the middle band was Gilby Clark's Kills for Thrills.
Oh, I saw them.
Yeah.
I saw them at UCSD.
Yeah, and then it was Mike Morrow. But Kills for Thrills had the brother of Faster Pussycat, as Brent Muscat. Todd Muscat played bass, I think. And then the other guitar player was the son of the Monkees.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
And Gilby produced the first Bronx album.
But I wasn't in
Full circle.
Yeah, but I didn't play on the first album.
Yeah.
I've met him a couple times, and I was like, you know, that happened. Yeah, I told him about that. He's like, oh shit, I remember that.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Because Kills for Thrills wasn't around for too long.
No, they weren't.
Yeah. So yeah, that was pretty cool. But yeah, and then to end out the year, we opened for Goo Goo Dolls. That was like one of the last shows we played that year. I remember all this because I hadn't played shows till that point, so like I know what shows.
Everything was like
now I can't remember what shows I played.
I was going to get to that actually.
Yeah, so, but back then I was like, 10 shows. I remember that. So yeah, that was Goo Goo Dolls was pretty cool. They came. I remember we're sound checking or doing something, and they rolled up, and Robbie was like sleeping on the van inside the van because they had their gear and sleeping bags. Came rolling in barefoot, eating the Spirit had like the nachos. Yeah, and they were like, oh, free nachos. I was like, oh, that's gross. But yeah, it was cool. That was the first time I've never heard of Goo Goo Dolls. And that was.
And they were full on punk rock.
Yeah, it was rad. Yeah, it was pretty cool. They were like, fucking with the crowd. It wasn't super packed, but it was enough. It was a lot of people.
Well, I only remember them playing the Spirit once, and that was with the Gun Club. But
yeah, this was. I still have the
Stymie. Stymie was there too because I was a huge Goo Goo Dolls fan, and I was saying, Stymie, you got to go see them. And so Stymie got in. He was underage, but he was pretending to they needed a new sound guy there, and he wanted to get into. He pretended he was a sound guy and wanted to get in. He saw them and he's like, oh, wow, they're really intense.
Yeah. By this time, I was pretty good at like kind of dodging the ID questions. You know.
Well, plus you're tall enough, so they probably thought you were, old enough.
But when you're 18, you look pretty fucking young. But yeah, I remember standing kind of on the side and watching them. They're fucking cool.
Yeah. So how long was M80 together for? Literally
just
a year?
A year and a half. Summer of 80 or summer of 90. We kind of the two Gonzalo. Well, we kind of broke up, half-assed, and Gonzalo and Mark were gone. And then we got Baba and Kevin Schnell to help us out.
Oh, really?
Just to do a couple shows. And we played with like Calamity Jane, and we played with Skinyard.
Oh, wow.
That's when like the old Casbah was our kind of, start. We played,
there for that.
Yeah, we played the early M80 played there too a couple times, and then we played with Holy Love Snakes. But we were together for a year and a half. And then that summer we played a couple shows opening up for like London Choir Boys, Calamity Jane,
that was
Skinyard.
Cool.
That was with Kevin and Baba. But then Mario was kind of like, oh, this ain't it, kind of. And I think we kind of stopped doing M80, and the fall of '89, him and I just kind of sat, just us two, just writing songs.
And that turned into the Dragons.
Yeah.